Our first presenter is Karin Wadsack. Karin is a project director at NAU's Center for Engineering, Forestry, and Natural Sciences. Karin manages a number of renewable energy research and energy initiatives and teaches classes on a variety of energy topics. She is a key member of our Four Corners Wind Resource Center, as NAU is one of the 3 partners. She serves as a policy and technical analyst on energy issues at the university and for a variety of entities in the community and across the region. So Karin.
Great, thank you very much, Amanda. And what I'm going to do today is just briefly show our attendees some of the excellent information that our Four Corners Wind Resource Center has compiled. And then we're going to move on to our other presenters so that they have plenty of time as well. For those of you who don't know exactly who we are, the Four Corners Wind Resource Center is one of 6 centers across the country that's supported by the U.S. Department of Energy in the Wind Exchange Program from the National Renewable Energy Lab. Our mission is to get useful, up-to-date information into the hands of decision makers across all of our territory that we serve. And our center, as Amanda mentioned, is built on the work and part of our member organizations, which include NAU and also Utah Clean Energy and Interwest Energy Alliance. Graham, I am not able to move the slides forward, so if you want to advance those for me, that would be great. And go to the next slide. So here I've listed just our website address and the resource section that we have available. You can find there the latest reports that we have, maps, examples of regulatory documents, and a lot of the other information that we as an organization have found for you, read, and compiled for you to be able to access. And here you can see an example of one of the fact sheets that we've put together for each of the states in our area that we're working in. And these, of course, are also available on the website at the address that you see on the screen. Next slide, Graham. So I'm going to quickly run through one report that I'd like to highlight today, and this is the Wind Technologies Market Report. And it comes out every fall from the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. If you're familiar with this initiative, you've probably already read the report from this year. And if you are not familiar with it, it's one of the resources that I would strongly encourage you to take a look at. Next slide, Graham. And what they do when they're putting this report together at the lab is they come through all the data that they have access to about every wind project that's built each year, and then they compile statistics on the cost, price, location of projects, technology changes, policy drivers, and other factors that are influencing the market. And then they add the information that they get from this year to all of the data they've previously compiled from all of the years leading up to this year, and that way they're able to characterize the current status of the industry as well as historical and expected trends. And then they put together excellent graphs and charts that they use to illustrate the information in the report, and I'm just going to walk us through a couple of those. Next slide, Graham. So here you can see a plot of the annual and cumulative installed wind capacity in the U.S. And you can see the growth in the industry as well as the influence of things like the general health of the economy in 2008, 9, and 10, and then also policy drivers like the production tax credit, which is where you can see cliffs falling off in development there. Graham, next slide. And then this plot is showing the trends in wind turbine size and capacity. And you can see that there's an overall trend in increasing component size, but rotor diameter actually continues a recent increase while hub height and nameplate turbine capacity have been leveling off. So that can lead to projects that have higher capacity factor or can generate economic wind energy, even places with a lower wind speed regime. Next slide, Graham. And as I think we all know, installed project costs have continued to decline, and that's just what this is showing as the trend over time. Next slide. So project costs coming down obviously results also in potential decrease in PPA prices. And so what we're seeing here is the price that wind is actually sold for, the national average, as well as the variation in prices by region. And you can see clearly that across all of the regions, prices have been coming down significantly since 2009. And the average PPA price across all projects for the last 2 years has been well below $30 a megawatt hour. Next slide. This report also compares wind's outlook to that of generic wholesale power, as well as projections for natural gas. And so using information from the power purchase agreements that were signed in 2013 and 14, you can see here the authors are able to show that wind is going to continue to be competitive and is competitive with natural gas under all of the scenarios that have been projected by the U.S. Energy Information Administration in their annual energy outlook. That is the gray and black that you see as a higher price than wind there. And I would expect to see the same or better for contracts signed this year or next year. Next slide. And the last piece of information I wanted to show you, the folks who put this report together also compiled projections for a range of other studies that are focused on this topic. And their conclusion in this year's report was that strong performance is still expected in 2015 and 16. And as always, it's hard to predict the rest of the future. So if you have any questions specifically for me, I'd be happy to take them at the end of our time today. And otherwise, I think we're passing the mic back over. Thank you.